Good evening. I'd like to call the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting of Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 to order. I'll start by the land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. All in favor? The Parks and Recreation Committee minutes of February 18th were circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, motion to approve. Councillor Keel and the Mayor. Thank you. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. Okay, with new business. We have Jordan here to explain Jamie's Studio, a legacy of Jamie Bramberger. Go ahead, Jamie.
All right, thank you, Chair. Good evening. So the recommendation is that this report is for information purposes only. When we take a look at the financial commitment, so during the visitation of the late Jamie Bramberger, donations were made in Jamie's memory at the PMC. And in addition to the funds raised, a donation from Mr. Bramberger's family was also made, so there's approximately $4,000 in the budget. With these funds being received at the PMC, so staff along with Jamie's spouse, Barb, had discussed the legacy of Jamie. Originally when the money was coming in, there was different talks about maybe some kind of programming and whatnot, some sponsorships of different programming, but we felt like that wasn't really the perfect fit. So some of the items that have been discussed, which the department was looking to move forward on, were two things. I should note that after reviewing the asset naming policy, it was determined that Jamie does fit into the criteria for both of these. So for over 30 years, Jamie was the voice of the Kings. And recognizing that the broadcast booth at the PMC was dedicated to the former voice of the Lumber Kings, Bill Kutschke, in 2001. So the department is looking to use the back of the broadcasting booth to display Mr. Kutschke as well as Mr. Bramberger. Back whenever this honor went to Bill Kutschke, we didn't have that crystal ball and we didn't have any insight that there would be someone else that would come along and give 30 plus years as voice of the Pembroke Lumber Kings. We also don't have that crystal ball today to know if somebody else is going to come along. So what we're trying to do here is honor those of the past and then look towards the future as well and create a space on the back of the broadcast booth. I will note that the broadcast booth isn't being renamed, it's just we're going to be using that white space on the back of it to honor those. The second thing is renaming the suite. So the suite, which is located at the northwest side of the building in the activity room, it was used by Jamie on several different occasions. We would have different ceremonies and whatnot taking place in the activity room. He would conduct a lot of different interviews and whatnot during his events at the PMC. So the department actually planned to replace the flooring in the suite in this year, so in the operating budget. And during discussions with the family, the donated money, we were looking at possibly replacing some of the furniture and other amenities. We also talked about the room could also display some of Jamie's memorabilia, including 3 framed jerseys, and also some other accomplishments from his community involvement. So after careful considerations, we felt that this was extremely fitting for someone who devoted so much not only for the community but inside the actual PMC itself. So as far as next steps goes, we just want to keep council informed with this report, and we will be coming back to council just to formally ask to rename the suite in the PMC. Thank you.
Comments, questions? Councillor Purcell.
Thanks, Director DeRoche. What a great honor, in recognition of Jamie and all his accolades and what he's done for this community. I think it's a great tribute, and I think it's a meaningful tribute to Jamie and his family and his many friends. And I think it's again, it's just a great opportunity for us to really come forward and really kind of have something with meaning. I love the studio idea. I think that's great. I even like the name because I do think, Jamie, is always you always think of broadcasting
Yeah.
and, the college, he's always public speaking, doing those kinds of things. He certainly was a Pembroke promoter and definitely a Pembroke peach. So kudos.
Any further comments, questions? Thank you from the chair. Great ideas. I love the idea that you've gotten together with the family and discussed this, and they're happy with all this. So that really shows partnership. Thank you very much. Next item, Pembroke's Waterfront Significant Weather Event. Jordan.
All right, thank you. So again, this recommendation is just for information purposes only. So in terms of the financial commitment, so the city has an emergency reserve fund that can be utilized on short-term repairs. So the reserve fund currently sits at $500,000. So there is a picture on the screen right now, and I would just ask that council takes a good look at this photo. So this is a part of the boardwalk that stretches out over 200 feet, which makes up 20% of the waterfront. So we're looking at 1,000 feet of boardwalk. And there's two areas of the boardwalk that were damaged. So both the main boardwalk, which runs parallel with the Ottawa River, as well as the boardwalk portion covering the breakwater leading out to the pavilion. So you can see the current picture that's up on the screen right now. That's what it currently looks like. And so you might be kind of asking what's going on here, what's happening here. So unfortunately, the weather event that came through on April 29th into the 30th, there was severe undermining of the boardwalk. As a result of almost 100-kilometer-an-hour winds, the wave action created basically unrepairable damage, which dislodged and fractured 4x4 stringers as well as 2x6, and it actually moved the entire structure 6 to 8 feet to the east. So as far as some short-term mitigation, what we were looking at doing is removing the existing boardwalk from the breakwater to the pavilion. And actually, Sean, if you wouldn't mind, if you can just go back one photo, sorry about that. So this portion of the boardwalk would be removed, the pavilion would be brought to the shore, and then we would re-erect the pavilion on the boardwalk portion parallel to the river to create essentially a viewing area. We've engaged in the services with HP Engineering, so we were looking at some kind of a scope to get an understanding of when we have these conversations to get this area rebuilt, just to make sure that we can mitigate any kind of future weather events. And so what we were looking for is a scope that would, we could work with the contractors to kind of get an idea of, like, say, the sizing of armor stone or anything that can prevent this stuff from happening again. In terms of the long term, what we were looking at is coming back to council and with cost to rebuild a portion of the breakwater, and then looking at some kind of an anchoring system that could withstand these significant weather events. So if we go to the next photo, Sean, please. And this photo and the next photo are the same photos, they're just one zoomed in, one's not. So this is the portion of the boardwalk that runs parallel with the Ottawa River. It does look in bad shape, yes, but the good news here is that it is actually fixable. So what the plan is here is the way the boardwalk was built, it was built in 10-foot sections, so we can actually take them apart and then rebuild it. Now the thing here is that you might notice there's concrete slabs on the walkway. And typically whenever we have high waters, we get a crane to come down, put those slabs, which we own, just to keep it there from creating almost like a floating dock. So what we're looking at doing this time is we have to remove it to make sure that it gets even again. And we're looking at actually putting those concrete barriers underneath and anchoring them to that. We're also going to be looking at some other mitigation as well just for future washouts and erosion and those type of things. You can go to the next photo, please, Sean. Next one, please. So the next part of the damages to share with council here is the breakwater that leads to the Muskrat River. So this is on the east side of the marina. And so this area, if you've ever been down there, is essentially a concrete walkway. And there has been areas that has been undermined. So this project was overseen by Ministry of Natural Resources of the day, as well as DFO, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So the picture on the screen right now, you can see where it's completely washed out from underneath. Sean, if you can go to the next picture, please. And this is the area where probably the worst of it is, where you can see erosion is starting to take place. However, just that one area has actually been completely eroded. Sean, if you go to the next photo. This is the area where it's actually been completely washed out. So just with the weight of the concrete slab, it has broken there. That's about a 4-inch drop. And the good news there too is that it is fixable. So that is, we could look at fixing that, which we are going to be looking at fixing that. But at this point in time, we're just looking at, maybe we could get some dollars from DFO and whatnot. So we're in the process of engaging with them and speaking to them about this, just because they're the ones that had put it there. And finally, the next section is the Aquinas walkway. So areas of the walkway have been damaged, as you can see in the picture. And there's about 3 sections of the walkway which has experienced some undermining or sinkhole-like damage. So staff have been working with the operations department to have the work completed or repaved under the paving contract. And then staff are also looking at stabilizing these areas with concrete barriers to protect from annual erosion. Now in the report, it does say for long-term stabilized boardwalk with a break wall. Just for clarification, we're not looking to put a break wall along the whole walkway. What we're looking to do is that if we fix this and repair this year, as different areas of the walkway may erode, depending on where it is on the walkway, that we would look at some kind of concrete barrier to withstand that erosion for future years. So at this point in time, I'll pass it back to the chair. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions, Councillor Keel?
So we all know about this damage. I think many of us have been down there and looked at it for ourselves. But certainly before we go too far down the road of what we're going to do to fix it, I would like a far more detailed report in terms of where things went wrong. Because as far as I can tell, from speaking with our own chief building official, this was never done right in the first place. And that's a disservice to this community. I think your own staff, Jordan, have told me that boardwalk has been fixed, I think no fewer than 3 times, the 2 floods and a microburst. The microburst, which lifted the entire wooden pier and tossed it into the marina. Now, we were able to fish it out and put it back. But in talking with our chief building official, how is it possible that none of this has actually been anchored down? I mean, imagine if one of these unsuspecting microbursts came while people were on this pier, and suddenly they're flying through the air like the Wizard of Oz and landing in the basin. So I guess where I'm disappointed is I get that this was done by volunteers. I guess that this was spearheaded by a community individual that we have so much regard for, but it was never done right. And now it's just costing us time and money. And I know I spoke with you today. You mentioned that hours have now been put into this. We don't know what the price is going to be. Obviously, I am strongly hoping that the community will come again with both volunteer hours, dollars, and maybe even supplies. But we can't half-ass things this important to the city of Pembroke. And from everything that I've learned over the last 2 weeks, this was never done properly. There's been absolutely no erosion control put in. So when we're looking at I don't know if anybody has gone completely down there, but the part of the boardwalk by the parking lot, I mean, you're actually bouncing because there's nothing underneath the boardwalk. And I'm told that simple erosion control probably could have saved that. The other boardwalk, from what I was told by your department, is basically that the wooden part of the boardwalk is just sitting there. So every time the floodwaters came up, it was possible for it to float away. Obviously, that microburst did, in fact, pick it up. So from my perspective, that needs to be rebuilt and that needs to be put back. That is one of the nicest things that we have down at the marina, to be able to go out onto the river and just, I mean, the amount of people that take photos from the end of that pier, I mean, it has to be put back, but it has to be done right. We can't, if the Parks and Rec Department has fixed that 3 times already, I mean, I don't want to be back here in another couple of years. This is my first term on council, but there's quite a few people around this table that have sat here through a couple floods and a couple, major storms or whatnot. So I just want to make sure that we get a solid report on where things went wrong, how we can improve it, and to know from you that when you come back to us with what I hope will be a plan to rebuild that part to the way that it it looked, but a little bit better, that we're going to have something that that should last us more than just a few years. Because as much as I'm grateful for the community coming in once in 2000 and rebuilding it again in the 20-something teens, I think, you know, if this happens again in a couple of years, and if it does it again in a couple of years after that, we all know that people get less interested in rebuilding things over and over and over and over again. So it has to be done right. I'm quite disappointed that our, and to be clear, Paul wasn't there at the time. He wasn't there for the building of this. But he seemed quite shocked by the fact that it wasn't anchored down. And certainly the fact that it wasn't done right seemed to be the opinion from him and a couple other people in the community. So certainly, I love that my computer every meeting tells me it's going to reset. So again, I thank you for the time and effort that you put in. I know our Parks and Rec staff were down there the very next day, putting in all kinds of hours. Certainly, I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of the people that built it originally. I'm appreciative of all of that. But we got to get it back, and we got to do it right this time, because I don't want to sit here again rebuilding this thing, you know, before what I would believe would be a natural end of lifespan. I mean, I know boardwalks need to be rebuilt, but certainly not every couple of years due to weather events. So that's my only thought.
Anyone else? Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I had the, actually went down and looked at some of the damage that was caused. I mean, it was really a perfect storm with a high water and 100-kilometer-an-hour winds. And I think we all kind of know what transpired. We saw the end result. But moving forward, I do agree that we need some sort of engineering assessment by a qualified individual. You know, looking at the placement of gabion baskets, or, you know, those rock, you know, baskets, just to prevent some of the, and stabilize the shore, to prevent some of the waves from reaching, you know, the boardwalk in the future. And I think you called it what was it called? The pier that goes out? The spit. So the spit, that's that pier that goes out. I do think that we need to look at, you know, making that out of solid concrete with a, you know, with reinforced rebar and that kind of stuff. So I think that way there, it's done. We know that climate change, unfortunately, is here. We know that more than likely we're going to have some of these different weather events in the future. So I think if we have, you know, an engineering assessment completed, some stabilization in terms of, you know, some quick recommendations in terms of how to stabilize what we already have, and then removing that boardwork because it is unsafe, and then looking at different building techniques when it comes to that pier. And I think, you know, concrete is the way to go. If you go right across the way to Jardaville, not impacted in terms of their marina, right? So, because they have concrete piers that actually come out, jut into the water. So I think, you know, there's an opportunity. Yes, it's expensive. I understand that. But you know, I think that we need to do this. No different than some homeowners, you know, replacing retaining walls with rock walls, even raising their homes and those kinds of things. So we had the Ottawa River Secretariat here at the last meeting, had a discussion, and we know that those high waters are going to continue because they don't have a basin. That's what they say in terms of the northern waters and those kinds of things, that there's no room for them. So it backs up, and this is what happens. So yeah, I think that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Unron?
Yeah, I agree with the comments that were made. I just, I guess, concerned that it might not be value in regards to do a kind of lessons learned. And just for the simple fact that all of that will be removed, and we will have HP Engineering come in and kind of give us a couple ideas in regards to how we are going to rebuild it. So kind of looking back, I don't think there's value in it. Certainly we can do that if that's wanted. But a little bit of the history, and I think everyone aware, like we did do the 25th anniversary celebration on July 1st of 2025. And, you know, a lot of the boardwalks, actually, if you look across Canada and into the States, usually they get replaced completely after about 20 years. This was replaced after 16 years in season. So I think it's, you know, it's really, you know, done a lot of benefit. But I totally agree. Like, I don't want to be here 2 years from now and doing the same thing. And that's why we made the decision to completely remove it, take a look at the breakwater, do what's needed. Concrete is an option, but we'll let the experts kind of look at it and make it that determination. I know that we use concrete extensively in Petawawa, but even that back in 2019, I believe, it had to be replaced. So you got to take a look at all the solutions, but we've got an expert on it right now, and they're going to come back with some solutions.
If I could, just from the chair, yeah, no, I think going forward, lots has changed. Let's face it, the environment is changing. The weather patterns have really changed. And it's no different than someone who built a home along the river 20 years ago. If they were building that home now, I'm sure they would put in a lot different measures when it comes to flooding and protecting. We know, I mean, even Councillor Purcell, they didn't know when they were, you know, I mean, people didn't know back then that the weather was going to start attacking their properties like it has in the last decade. So, I mean, you know, you can do what you like and say what you like, but these are unprecedented and homeowners are facing it too. So we know what's happening going forward. We just have to make sure that we are putting in those protections to protect our investment in the waterfront. No further, Councillor Jack now?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to you to Mr. Drushi. The $500,000 in reserves for emergencies, if that is expended, if we have another emergency, where do we draw on that financing?
Through the chair. Unfortunately, I can't answer that for you. That would be a question for the treasurer. I don't know if CAO Unraw would be able to answer that as well, or is that a question for the treasurer?
Yeah, through the chair, Angela would be better to answer that. I know it, as we deplete it, then we add back into it, and over the years, and it's there because if a situation where we actually declare a state of emergency and there is some funding available from the province, then there is still a share that we're required to pay for. So it's there for these situations, but also if we do have a bigger emergency and declare. But we do, once it's depleted somewhat, then we replenish it and we try to keep it at that $500,000.
Thank you.
Final comment, Councillor Keel?
This might also be for the treasurer, Mr. Unraw, but I think often in the summer, which seems like we're coming up to it, Mother Nature keeps changing her mind, but we sometimes have the opportunity to reallocate unused monies and stuff like that. Do we know if that's something that's coming up, or are we still in the process of that?
Yeah, like through the chair, so we, you know, some of our projects are well underway, and so we do know the dollar value. Some are yet to be tendered, so we don't have a complete financial picture. But, you know, there is that opportunity if there is a surplus at the end of the year, how that's allocated. And there is a policy, I don't have it at the top of my head, but that's a treasurer's response.
Mayor Jerva?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe what Councillor Keel is referring to is the surplus from 2024. I know that the library CEO indicated that it went off to the auditor a week or two ago, so I got a feeling Pembroke being in lockstep with the library, I'm hoping soon, but I think that's what he's referring to. And yes, I think every year we look for surpluses, not deficits, and I've never seen a deficit year, and I would hope that instead of different things that we've put money in previous years, that yes, that would be a great place for some of the surplus.
Okay, seeing no more comments, I would call for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Purcell. This meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the operation meeting of Tuesday, May 20th. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Motion to move the meeting agenda. Councillor Purcell, Deputy Mayor, those in favor? Approved. Motion to approve the minutes of the operation meeting of April 15th, 2025. Councillor Purcell, second by Councillor Keel, those in favor? Approved. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. New business. First up, we got the quotation award for Director Lewis. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The recommendation is that the Operations Committee approve the following. The purchase of a diesel plate packer from Battlefield Equipment Rentals in the amount of $17,075 plus HST, and that the budget shortfall of $4,380 be funded from the surplus funds from the utility trailer budget in the fleet reserves. So as part of the 2025 capital budget, a budget of $13,000 was allocated for this purchase. Lowest quotation received was $17,375.52. That includes net HST. That leaves a budget shortfall of $4,375.52, and it can be funded from the surplus funds from the utility trailer budget. There was a surplus in that budget of $7,000. The quotation received from Battlefield Equipment Rentals was the lowest compliant bid, and just understanding of the plate packer. Piece of equipment is used during water main and sanitary sewer repairs and installations as a means of compacting the fill materials, granular backfill, and asphalt. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Keel,
I move that we approve the recommendation per the report.
Deputy Mayor, second. Further question, comment? Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. Is this a new piece of equipment, by the way? Is it brand new, or is it a used piece of equipment?
Through the chair, it's new for us to have a diesel plate. This is a larger plate tamper. We have several other small plate tampers and jumping jacks that we use for compaction. This is a larger one, helps us get a little bit more compaction on those deeper cuts. So it's new to us, yes.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? Approved. Next up, we got the water purification plant, filter launders, and under tile drain project. Additional funding, flash mixing system, and air scour blower. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that long-winded title. Maybe I won't have to repeat it. The recommendation is that committee approve additional scope and expenditures to Anthratech Western Inc., AWI, related to the jet mixing and air blower for the water purification plant, filters, launders, and under tile drains project, and that committee approve funding the cost from the water filtration plant reserves. So on the financial end of things, the original estimate in 2024 for the flash mixing system and air scour was $600,000. That $600,000 included $60,000 for design, which has been spent, and a $40,000 contingency allowance, which has not been spent, leaving $500,000 for the supply and installation of this particular system. The installation details were completed in March of 2025. That's when design was complete. And an updated quote was received from AWI at $774,540. That includes the air blower that was purchased at the end of 2024. That leaves a shortfall of $274,540. As I mentioned, the contingency allowance of $40,000 remains unspent. There's also $18,810 of a contingency allowance that was part of the original scope of the project. That remains unspent. Due to the CMAR approach of this project, there's $50,000 of unused contract administration and field administration that can be used to help fund this portion of the project. That leaves a remaining shortfall of $165,730, and again, that can be funded from the water plant reserves. The reserves presently have a balance of $1.49 million, and using the expending the 165 out of that would leave roughly $1.32 million in the reserves. Some background: the WPP filter rehabilitation project is nearly substantially complete. We are using the new filters presently. The on-site temporary filter is now removed and gone. The addition of the air scour blower system and flash mixing system was proposed for the WPP at the onset of construction in 2024, and at that time we earmarked $600,000 for this project.
The blower was pre-purchased at a cost of $152,570. That was done in October of 2024. We did temporarily use that air scour system during the project. When we were testing all the new systems and the new filters, we did use the air scour. It is in temporary storage at the WPP at present. Costs have increased due to design scope changes, pipe material, and current market conditions, and I'll give some explanation as to that. The blower can't be installed in the original intended location due to loading and accessibility concerns. That led to the air scour pipe length increasing from 6 meters to 35 meters, so it moves substantially in the plant. That requires additional pipe supports and some additional fittings that need to be installed. The existing concrete pad needs to be modified to suit the blower installation. Some flow control instrumentation modifications are required. That increases the complexity of the installation. But this will provide for a more robust installation to facilitate the operations and maintenance activities. These changes, or the changes I just mentioned, increase the cost by approximately $165,000 to $175,000. Due to longer pipe runs and the change in grade of stainless steel, so we do have to use a different grade of stainless steel because of that. This will provide better longevity and long-term corrosion resistance. And it is readily available. Unfortunately, the originally designed stainless steel that we were going to use is going to be about 3 or 4 weeks, potentially longer out before we can get it. This other stuff is immediately available. The change in material increases cost about $35,000 to $45,000. And then everything we don't want to talk about, but have to, market prices due to the ongoing tariffs. And the tariff discussions in the North American market, that's creating an additional cost of about $50,000 to $60,000. So although the costs have increased over the original budget, the result is a better overall system suited to WPP and designed and suited to provide increased efficiencies and capacity growth in the future. The upgraded filters do not currently have a scouring capacity. So we removed the previous wash water system. It was removed during the filter demolition. Current standards is to provide both water and air wash as filter backwash protocol, so right now we have none. Air scour will improve the overall filter performance, protect the upgraded filter asset, and minimize the operational and maintenance time and reduce costs associated with manual filter surface washing. The inline flash mixer was removed from the WPP back in 2015. It was not replaced at that time. In the performance and capacity review of the water purification plant in 2022, it was identified as a performance limiting factor, and it was recommended that flash mixing be reinstated as soon as possible to help with performance and to help with capacity for projected growth. Without flash mixing, filter performance has been greatly affected. Adding the new jet flash mixing system will improve performance of the filters, reduce the backwash filter requirements, and help protect both the upgraded filters and the new backwash system components that was completed last year as part of the backwash force main project. So a different project, still related to the treatment process. That new force main and backwash pumps is operational now, but we potentially could reduce the estimated useful life on those systems if we have to run the backwash so much more frequently. So in short, significant investment has been made to the treatment plant for servicing today and into tomorrow, and we hope to protect that with these new systems. Couple other things related to the system as it's operating now. As I said, the new filter system is operational right now. We are using the new filters. We're awaiting the air scour system to go in. So the existing surface wash arms have been removed. Presently, we're using a fire hose to wash the top of the filters. So after we do a filter treatment process, we backwash and we're washing the top of the filters with a fire hose. And the filters are requiring extensive backwashing. With the temporary air scour backwash, we could backwash once a week, and in 4 to 5 minutes, the filters were cleaning up. Without that air scour, we're seeing that we're washing almost every day, backwashing almost every day, and it's taken 12 to 14 minutes to clean up the filters, and they're not getting completely cleaned. So that puts the new filters, the new filter media, all those systems in jeopardy. Got some information from the supervisor today. 11,000 cubic meters, which is the equivalent of 30 hours of production for treated water, has been used to wash the filters so far this month, and we're not finished the month. So in essence, 11,000 cubic meters of treated water is being used to maintain the existing systems at the plant rather than pushing that 11,000 cubic meters of water out into the drinking system. So we're reducing the capacity of the system presently. We did look at alternatives. The alternative is delaying the project into the 2026 cycle. Delay would see the cost increase again. We all know that delaying these type of projects just leads to increased costs later down the road. It would increase the cost again due to demobilizing and remobilizing the contractor. And delaying the installations will reduce the filter performance, increase O&M requirements, and reduce the lifespan of the new filter we just put in. This project does meet the city's vision of maintaining infrastructure in good condition with no major failures, as well as facility renewal. As well, upgrades at the water purification plant allow for system growth within the city and to Laurentian Valley, of which the city services for water. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The mayor first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as committee knows that we meet together with Mr. Lewis prior to these matters coming forward, and we have received a similar explanation, but a little bit more detailed in terms of the variety of different reasons why this should proceed at this time. Certainly significant dollars have been spent already on this system, and so why would you shorten its life expectancy by not finishing the job, if you will? We know that there's a number of different subdivisions that are ready and are on the cusp of proceeding, and so certainly we need every available water going out into the distribution system as opposed to maintaining the system if we can put in a piece of equipment that will do it properly. And so for all of those different reasons and the reasons provided in the detailed report, I would move that we proceed as recommended by staff.
Councillor Purcell? I will second that. Okay. Do you have any comments? No. I have the deputy mayor. Thing. Okay. Councillor Keel?
So I guess my question really is why we didn't know about this a few months ago when we did budget. And why, I mean, if we're saying this is a 500,000 was left for the supply and installation of it, and we now need an extra 274,000, that's more than a 50% increase than what we budgeted for. So my question is, why didn't we know about this in February when we passed the budget?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we were not complete design. Design wasn't complete until the end of March. So we did have a $600,000 budget, of which $40,000 or, yeah, we had a $600,000 budget, $50,000 was contingency, or sorry, $40,000 was contingency, $60,000 was for design. The design was ongoing at the time of budget. That was the best number that we could possibly get at that time before budget. Once the design was complete and they realized they couldn't install it where they had initially intended to install it, that increased the price, roughly $165,000 at that point. So at the time of budgeting, we did not have a final design.
So at what point in the calendar did they realize that they couldn't install it where they were expecting to install it?
In March.
And leaving 1.32 million in the WPP reserve. What are our thoughts? Is that a healthy reserve? Is that still a healthy reserve, or are we facing future problems with that small reserve?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's healthy enough for what is intended. The reserves are built specifically for what we're doing. You can put money into reserves year after year after year and allow the plant to just degrade, save yourself enough money to tear it down and build a new plant, or you can build your reserves and use them as you require to do upgrades similar to this, whether it's technology upgrades or whether it's repair and replacement of the different systems within the plant. So we have just completed the new backwash force main. The pump system has increased efficiencies. This filter was a very large project that has been on the books for quite some time. That was budgeted for and using the reserves as required. Now we've got $1.39 million left in reserves. The 20-year facility plan is well underway. We anticipate before the end of the year, we'll have the 20-year facility plan along with the infrastructure needs study on the water side. And then we will start budgeting further for all the works that comes out of that, like doing a building condition assessment. And we will budget. So at present, we don't have any anticipated use of that 1.39 million. So I would answer, yes, it is a healthy reserve.
And is this reserve contributed to by Laurentian Valley?
That is correct. There's a portion of this reserve that is not. That was prior to the latest agreement, which I believe is 5 years old now. So anything prior to that is City of Pembroke reserves. Anything that was done since the last agreement was signed is reserves shared with Laurentian Valley, shared in the sense those monies go into the works and reduce the needs for rates to pay for those.
Further question, comments? Seeing none, then call to question those in favor. Approved. And that concludes the operation meeting for tonight. A motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor and the Mayor, those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of council for May 20th, 2025 to order. I'd ask everyone please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? When we get to 9A, I'll be calling upon the deputy mayor to take the chair, as at that time, as I've indicated at a previous meeting, Bob Shepherd, as I understand, has been retained by the city in respect to this particular matter.
And your worship, I'll be joining you.
Okay, so two of us will be sitting at the back. Okay, minutes. Special meeting of council, May 6, 2025. Accept a motion for their approval. I have Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Regular meeting of council, May 6, 2025. Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes from different committees. Parks and Recreation Committee, February 18th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Giacono this time. Those in favor? That is carried. Operations Committee, April 15th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Receiving minutes, one this evening, Pembroke Heritage Murals, May 7th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? And that is carried. No delegations and presentations. However, I believe, Councillor Lafreniere, you have a poem for us this evening?
I do indeed. So again, this is a grade 5 student at Cathedral Separate School here in the city. And I don't have an author name on this one, but the poem is entitled The Marina. I see the lovely bees buzzing around the beautiful flowers. I could stare at these beautiful things for hours. The water rushing through my fingers, it feels so nice. This sure is better than sitting at school. I smell the lovely lilac flowers and it smells so good. I could pick one of these lilac flowers, but I won't. I hear all the sweet birds chirping. I love to hear them sing. I wish there was a swing to play on while I listen to them sing. I tasted the ice cream at the marina. The flavor is cookies and cream. It tasted so good. Ice cream is my childhood. It tastes so delicious.
Much for that, Councillor Lafreniere. Certainly some.
Thank you.
Nope, thank you. So no business arising, no staff and committee reports. Moving on to proclamations. The first this evening is concerning National Public Works Week, being May 18th through to the 24th. Whereas Public Works professional focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the City of Pembroke. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our city's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our ratepayers. And whereas it is in the public's interest for ratepayers, municipal leaders, and youth of the City of Pembroke to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. Whereas it be promoted to Ontario's youth that a career in municipal public works is varied and rewarding, regardless of whether a student is planning on attending college or university or wants to join the workforce right after high school. There are many opportunities in public works. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the Canadian Public Works Association. As indicated in the proclamation, this year marks the 65th anniversary of National Public Works Week. The theme this year is People, Purpose, Presence. It may not be clear to the public how their lives are touched in many regards by public works. As I've explained countless times, municipalities are the closest level of government to the public, and I wish to use this opportunity to encourage our youth to consider a great profession with any number of our local municipalities. Tomorrow will be an open house at our public works, and I encourage anyone to take the opportunity to go and learn about our public works. Now, therefore, I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim this week of May 18th through to the 24th as National Public Works Week. I encourage all citizens to join with representatives of the Canadian Public Workers Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution that they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. The second proclamation this evening is National Accessibility Week, which is May 25th through to the 31st. Whereas National Accessibility Week was established in 1987 following Rick Henson's 40,000-kilometer Man in Motion tour. And whereas National Accessibility Week is an opportunity to celebrate the valuable contributions of Canadians with disabilities and to recognize the efforts of individuals, communities, and workplaces that are actively working to remove barriers to accessibility and inclusion. And whereas 1 in 5 working-aged Canadians have at least one disability, many persons living with disabilities face barriers in the areas of employment, information and technology, transportation, housing, education, and recreation. And whereas we all benefit from a society and an economy without barriers to inclusion, when persons with disabilities can participate in all aspects of society, including accessing employment, resources, and services, it enriches our Canadian economy. And whereas the City of Pembroke is committed to accessibility. As indicated, May 25th through to the 31st is National Accessibility Week. This is a week to value contributions and leadership of persons with disabilities in Canada, the work of allies, organizations, and communities that are removing barriers, and our ongoing efforts to become a more accessibility and inclusive Canada. This year, the theme for National Accessibility Week is Forward Together, Accessibility and Inclusion for All. Our country's strength lies in the diversity of its people, all of its people, and we can all contribute to this vision. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Jervin, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim May 25th through to the 31st as National Accessibility Week in the City of Pembroke. At this time, I'll turn it over to the Deputy Mayor for the bylaw concerning 730 Cecilia Street.
Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pat Laferniere, that bylaw 2025-47, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of municipally owned property known as 730 Cecilia Street, be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Deputy Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Waiting your signature, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Pat Laferniere, the bylaw 2025-47, a bylaw to authorize the sale of municipally-owned property known as 730 Cecilia Street be adopted and passed, and further, that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Comments, Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, this was a piece of property owned by the municipality that was sold to a developer in the amount of $139,000, and they're also responsible for looking after various fees, appraisals, and legal fees, etc. There was public input at the Planning Advisory Committee, where people from the neighborhood came to express their opinions on, well, you know, what they felt should be taking place in the neighborhood. However, under the Planning Act, this meets all the requirements of the Planning Act, and if there was a well, I mean, people can do what they want, but if they were to go to a tribunal and to object to this particular development, it would probably be defeated. The province, of course, wants to see a good mix of housing, whether it's residential, duplex, triplex, quads, and also this type of development. This will add a much-needed tax base to the City of Pembroke. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Called to vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? One opposed. Thank you. Motion, bylaw carried. Councillor Keel and the Mayor return to the table.
Next up, we have motions 2025-05, request to exempt City of Pembroke from strong mayor powers. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell. Request to exempt the City of Pembroke from strong mayor powers. Whereas the province of Ontario has announced the expansion of strong mayor powers to 169 additional municipalities, including the City of Pembroke, effective May 1st, 2025. Whereas these powers grant the head of council significant unilateral authority over key municipal functions, such as appointing the chief administrative officer, hiring and dismissing department heads, establishing and dissolving committees, preparing and presenting the municipal budget, and vetoing bylaws that may conflict with provincial priorities. And whereas the City of Pembroke has a long-standing tradition of collaborative and transparent governance, with council decisions made collectively to best represent the interests and priorities of the local community, and whereas Pembroke City Council is concerned that the introduction of strong mayor powers could diminish the role of council, undermine local democratic principles, and disrupt established practices, and ensure accountability, transparency, and responsiveness to the unique needs of Pembroke residents. And whereas many elected officials and members of the public across Ontario have expressed significant concerns regarding the imposition of these powers without local consultation or consent, and whereas the City of Pembroke did not request nor express a desire to be designated under the strong mayor framework, and whereas a growing number of municipalities and elected officials across Ontario are calling for a reconsideration, amendment, or repeal of the strong mayor system, emphasizing the importance of local autonomy and decision-making. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pembroke formally rejects the application of strong mayor power to the municipality and respectfully requests that the Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing immediately remove the City of Pembroke from the list of municipalities designated under the strong mayor's legislation, thereby exempting the city from the application of strong mayor powers as outlined in the proposed amendments to Ontario Regulation 530/22 under the Municipal Act, and further requests that the province of Ontario repeal the strong mayor legislation, or at a minimum provide municipalities with explicit option to opt out of strong mayor powers framework, ensuring that local governance structures reflect the preferences and needs of individual communities. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Rob Flack, Premier Doug Ford, MPP Billy Deneau, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurer of Ontario, AMCTO, and all municipalities in River County for their information.
Does council approve of waiving rereading of the motion? Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So this legislation came about, there was a letter sent to municipal leaders April 9th, and April 16th was the deadline for consultation and comment. We had a meeting on April 15th at council, and from what I recall, this did not come up for input from city council for our feedback. So this is our time to comment tonight, how we feel about it. And I just wanted to be clear that this is no reflection on the province. We respect the province. We're asking to be exempted from this and consideration repeal the legislation. To me, I ran 2018 in the last election, and we're all here tonight. Everybody has one vote at this table. And some of the highlights of this legislation are the mayor can appoint or remove the CEO, the mayor can hire, dismiss, or reorganize the municipal department heads. The mayor, and this is no reflection of Mayor Gervais. When I say mayor, I don't mean you, your worship. I mean any mayor in Ontario. The mayor can create or dissolve council committees, assign their functions, and appoint their chairs and vice chairs. The mayor proposes a municipal budget, which is subject to council amendments, a mayoral veto, and a council override process. The mayor can propose bylaws that advance provincial priorities, such as housing or infrastructure or transit. Now, when the mayor proposes a bylaw related to those priorities, the mayor only needs 2 extra councillors for approval, which is 1/3. And that's not, to me, democratic. When we want to veto, have a notice of motion to veto a ruling that the mayor makes, the mayor of any municipality, we need 2/3 support, which is 5 out of 7. But if the mayor had 2 people on council agree with the mayor, that would be 3. So that we'd only have 4 out of 7 votes, so we would lose the veto. So the government says that these powers are intended to streamline local governance and reduce obstacles to building housing and infrastructure. Unlike previous expansions, expansions, municipalities do not need to commit to a housing pledge to receive these powers. Critics argue that these powers blur between political and administrative leadership and may politicize municipal staff roles. To me, it's a fine line between staff and municipality. People always say to me when they phone me with a concern, you know, we're here to set a vision, like transit or a possible sportsplex or a warming center, and we vote on that. The city is run by the CEO and the clerk and the staff. We do not direct staff. It's against code of conduct. That's not our job. We hire talented people like we have now, and they run the city. I have a letter here from Perry Sound, and I'm just gonna highlight, Jamie McGarvey is the mayor of Perry Sound, a town similar to the size of Pembroke, and he's the former AMO president 2 years ago. And they are against it also, as are other municipalities, and Councillor Purcell has the number. I believe it's quite high. And it just goes on to talk about, you know, the comment period was short, only 1 week. It blurs the lines between political administrative authority, roles of the council, CEO, etc. So Laurentian Valley talked about it at their meeting. And Councillor Wren had a good remark. He said, if we say nothing, then we agree, so I think we need to say something. I don't think we should sit on our hands and say, just wait for 6 months down the road. So some people said to me, well, Perth unanimously approved, you know, rejecting the legislation, and the province said, no, we're not going to listen to you, we're not going to change it. But that's not the point. We need to speak for the residents of Pembroke and say, no, we don't accept this. We don't accept this type of undemocratic legislation, and we want to be heard. If enough councils speak out, we might be heard. And to say nothing is, as Councillor Wren was saying, is to silent. You know, you should never have a defeatist attitude. So this is our comment period here. To me, it's undemocratic, and I think that it's intended to speed up housing infrastructure, but the AMCTO have found out that it hasn't proven to speed up housing infrastructure. Progress in Pembroke should not come at the expense of democratic principles. Our city's future must be shaped by many and not the few. And I could go on and talk about other things, but I think you're getting the gist of it. So I don't support the legislation. I hope my councillors will agree with me to send a message to Queen's Park that, you know, this is wrong. We want to work with you. We want to build homes. We have subdivisions that are ready to go. We got to talk to those developers. And, you know, when you talk about housing, let's make the housing affordable, like they're doing in Laurentian Valley behind Home Depot, where they're offering homes for $300,000 with rental basements in the bottom to incentivize the people buying them, something like that. That's what we have to do. Who can afford a home worth $500,000? Like, you know, people growing up, working really hard in town. We need to work with the county on affordable housing, but we need to work with these developers. So I think there's other ways to go about it without having legislation like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Purcell as seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Abdallah. I have concerns in terms of the strong mayor policies, and the reason for that is, you know, I could see how it works for Ottawa or Toronto in terms of the larger municipal areas. But, you know, in terms of opposition, we see the Grey Highlands unanimously opposed the expansion and requested the province to remove the municipality from the list, also advocating for an opt-out mechanism. The unfortunate part is that there is no legal framework allowing us for opt-out unilaterally. So we need to, you know, we need to, in terms of seeking to avoid these powers, we need to rely on advocacy and the provincial government to effect the changes. So Perth also voted unanimously to submit formal comments to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, requesting removals from the list of municipalities scheduled to receive the strong mayor powers. Seguin Township unanimously passed a resolution requesting exclusion. Smith Falls Council unanimously signaled opposition to the move and directed staff to prepare comments reflecting its position against adopting the strong mayor's powers. As you're well aware, some of the challenges that we have in terms of potential concerns or criticisms of the strong mayor powers is the democratic oversight is the first one that I have concerns with. This allows mayors to pass bylaws with only 1/3 of council support, which undermines the democratic process and principles and tradition of checks and balances within the municipal governance, and that's the reason why, I'm in municipal politics. The local autonomy. So some municipalities formally rejected the designation, expressing concerns that the powers were imposed to without local consultation and may disrupt collaborative governance. The other one is in terms of the alignment of provincial priorities. Those powers are contingent on advancing those provincial priorities, which may not always be aligned in terms of the direction that we want to go in terms of the city of Pembroke. Because it doesn't take into effect the local community needs or values and as well, and it could potentially lead to conflicts between the municipal and provincial objectives. So I wholeheartedly disagree with those powers and the use of those powers. Again, it may work for some of the larger municipalities, but I think for the city of Pembroke, I don't think we've had any provincial priorities in terms of we had a lot of controversy in terms of housing. We've seen there's alignment. Public transportation is a provincial responsibility and a provincial strategic direction. We're moving forward on those. The housing component we're moving forward on. So I don't really know the need for instituting those powers within our municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purcell. Councillor Giacono?
Mr. Honor, how's your relationship with the mayor? I hope it's good, because if these powers are enacted, I mean, it's a tremendous power that the mayor would have, as opposed to council having that recourse to make decisions. No detrimental intent to you, your worship. I think you do a wonderful job. You have leadership qualities. But I agree with Councillor Purcell and the deputy mayor, of course. This is democracy. Otherwise, why have a council? Just have a mayor. They can make all the decisions you want without the people's input. I think some of this may have evolved from the Oaks Marine scandal, in southern Ontario, where perhaps the premier had a perceived conflict of interest where the developers were friends of his. I mean, that was sort of the talk, that they were going to develop an area that's it's a biological area that should be contained. It's a natural drainage area, the Oaks Moraine. You're going to build 1 million houses in there. We're talking about weather tonight. I mean, you need greenery. You need some of that stuff. You need buffering. You look at New York City, where they've removed, the sandbanks and all the growth they had there. And now you've got this storm surge. It comes right into New York City. It's in your subway. So, I mean, people are saying, well, it can't be climate change. It's people. We're doing the change. So we have to, look at that. Your worship, I think that this, giving this power to the mayors is not necessary. If you have a strong council and people that'll keep your feet to the fire, that's part of our role as well, to question you. And I know you defend yourself to the hilt when you think you're right. But I think the province should be aware that councils such as this do not agree with this. This is not democratic. You're giving people specific powers, and to me, it's a dictatorship. So, your worship, no detriment to you and your leadership, but as a councillor, having run, for council for a number of years, served with many people of different ilks and ideas and opinions, things always either happened or it came to the vote, and that's what it's all about. So definitely, I applaud the deputy mayor's movement here to bring this forward to the province. Whether it'll be heard or not, if it is not heard, I think step 2 should take place. There's got to be something else. You just can't let this go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Giacono. Other, Councillor Keel?
So certainly coming onto council a couple of years ago, as I did with Councillor Purcell, I mean, this is certainly an interesting learning experience, but the one thing that we didn't need to learn was that around this table, we were all equal. That's what we got elected for. We were all equal. We all had one vote. This completely upends our entire council system. And it does it in a way, when this was first brought in for the City of Toronto, I'm not going to be as polite as some of the other people around this table. We know why this was first brought in. It was brought in because Doug Ford has an issue with Toronto, that his brother and he couldn't get done what they wanted to do, so he goes into Queen's Park as Premier and he forces onto Toronto everything that he wanted to get done. We know that's what it is. He doesn't even deny it. He laughs at it. And then he says, you know, the councils are a creature of the province. And that's true. But that doesn't mean upending over 100 years of democracy. When these powers first came in, it was immediately after the, what was that, the 2022 election. This was never mentioned during the provincial election of 2022. And then all of a sudden, it comes in right after the election. We just had an election that I know everybody around this table paid very close attention to in February. This wasn't brought up. This was never proposed. We had things proposed like I don't even know what it'll end up being, $1 trillion tunnel under the 401, but this was never proposed. Why not? If this was in the back of the government's mind, they should have mentioned it. Our own MPP was a sitting councillor in Arnprior. So to suggest that there isn't something wrong and rotten about what's going on, this is completely upending the idea that a majority rules on this council. It is giving the mayor, any mayor, not the mayor, it is giving any mayor, and I think the mayor knows that none of us are talking about him specifically. I don't think he saw this coming either. But this is giving any mayor powers to do things with a minority situation. Well, if you have a minority around this table, chances are also pretty good you have a minority of public support. Think about that. The reasons apparently for this, to promote building and infrastructure. We have no fewer than 4 subdivisions in the city of Pembroke that have been approved for years, that everyone around this table is begging the developer to build in. We have no problem with building an infrastructure here in the city of Pembroke. But again, this wasn't looked at, you know, the Premier didn't look at us as I think the Deputy Mayor pointed out, prior strong mayor powers had a give and take to them. There was expectations about new builds and whatnot. My understanding is this was given to every single municipality that has more than 5 members of council. So think about in our own backyard. With all due respect to some of our neighbors, we know there's been a couple municipalities in recent years that have had some less than desirable mayors. One of them left office during this term. Another one in a more rural, small town was not reelected to office by an extraordinary degree. So you can't even just look at these powers in terms of the person sitting in the chair. You have to look at you have to think of who might be sitting in the chair in the next election and the next election after that. And, you know, we've seen some examples of people getting elected that are perhaps a bit radical, but they liven up the political arena and they sound like a really good idea until they get into office, and then you regret your decision. I'm not talking about any U.S. president in particular, but we've seen that. We've seen where people campaign one way, and then when they actually get into the position, you're looking for people to restrain them. This prevents the council from doing that. And I don't know what is wrong with the idea of a majority rules. I've been on the losing end of some votes around this. Every one of us is, I think after meeting one, I think every one of us had been on the losing end of some votes around this table. And you shake hands at the end of the night and you go home and you call each other the next day and you talk about moving forward. But this potentially sets up a little cabal, a mayor only, especially smaller councils. You know, it's one thing when you're in Toronto and there's, 20-some people on council. The mayor, to get to 1/3, he needs a few people to agree with him. When you come to councils as small as ours, a mayor needs to find 2 friends. And then he's running the show, or she's running the show. That's not democracy. The one thing that I will disagree with a little bit with the deputy mayor, though, is that, this is the best that we can do. I don't necessarily think that this is the best that we can do. I know all of us have heard, Councillor Lafreniere and I know have talked about it. People want action. They don't like the chat and the bluster, none of which I'm known for. But I think there are some things that we can do. And so I would like to put forward an amendment to the deputy mayor's motion to add a further paragraph. So this would just be added to the end. Be it further resolved that the treasurer or such other staff as may be directed by either the treasurer or the chief administrative officer is directed to bring forward to council at the next regularly scheduled meeting of council a bylaw amending the honorarium of the mayor to include a provision whereby the honorarium of the mayor shall be automatically reduced to $1 per calendar year, prorated as necessary for any partial year applicability, during any period of time for which the mayor has not, in writing, delegated his authority pursuant to all 4 subclauses of subsection 284.13 sub 1 of the Municipal Act 2001, concerning A, the powers of a municipality under section 229 with respect of the chief administrative officer, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. The powers of the municipality with respect to determining the organizational structure of the municipality, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the chief administrative officer of the city of Pembroke. The power of the municipality to appoint chairs and vice chairs of local boards, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. And the powers of the municipality with respect to prescribed committees or committees within a prescribed class of committees, including 1, the power to establish or dissolve committees, 2, the power to appoint chairs and vice chairs of committees, and 3, the power to assign functions to committees, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. I'll wait to see if there's a seconder.
Seconded, I think, by Councillor Purcell.
I will second, yes.
So basically, they gave us a little wiggle room, a minimal amount of wiggle room. Under section 284, 13 sub 1 of the strong mayor powers, the head of council may delegate their powers and duties under the, that was a bad time, under the following sections. Section 284.5, powers dealing with the chief administrative officer. Section 284.6, powers relating to organizational structure. Section 284.7, powers relating to local boards. And section 284.8, powers relating to committees. So the mayors are, pursuant to the strong mayor powers, allowed to delegate those 4 powers. That's about the only thing that we can poke and prod the mayor for. So what this motion does, and no, I'll be honest, I have not talked with the mayor. I don't know what his thoughts on this are going to be. But what this motion does is it basically says that if the mayor of the city of Pembroke, whoever it is, has not delegated these 4 things back to the way that we had them, that we would reduce the mayor's honorarium to $1. It's about the only practical thing we can do, because I think as both Councillor Purcell and Councillor Giacono noted, this is being thrust, everything else in this section, it's the head of the council shall. The rest of us have nothing to do. So in terms of our honorarium powers, that has not been thrust upon the mayor. And I don't know, the mayor, to be honest, my hope is that he was already planning to delegate these back. We haven't, kind of the way our cycle works, and for anybody watching a TV, often the chair goes last. So that's likely why we haven't yet heard from the mayor on this matter. But I would move that as a way to prod the mayor that where he's allowed to delegate back, he does delegate back. There's nothing we can do about the rest of the powers, but this is at least doing something that we do have the power to deal with. And in all other respects, I suppose the only thing that we can do is pay lip service to the government and hope that they change their mind, or in 4 years, maybe we'll have a new government that reinstates democracy in our municipalities. And I'll leave that at that.
Thank you, Councillor Keel. There's two that haven't spoken yet on it. Councillor Frenier?
Just a brief clarification, then what I'm hearing in a nutshell, condensed version, is that basically it's asking, or it's putting pressure on our mayor to delegate those authorities back or have his honorarium reduced to $1. The only thing I see in there that we can't do is take away that right to dismiss the CAO, and was that part of that? Okay, there was so much of it. Okay, so I'm totally in support of that. Thank you. Let me see that again. Oh, it was in there? Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Plummer, did you wish to?
Thank you, Richard. So I agree with what's been said around the council table. I think it's important that we can uphold or can maintain the current state of council with a democracy and understanding a majority should rule council and not a minority. I certainly would like to have an opinion from the CAO, maybe look over this before, as I say, next council meeting to prepare a bylaw. So I would expect a report if this is actually in council's preview to do and act upon the honorarium. I'm not, not that I don't believe our fellow councillor Keel. I'm sure he's looked into everything, but it's also good to get a staff opinion on things before we make a final decision around the table, except I wouldn't want to do something that would not be in our council preview. But other than that, I do agree with what's been said, and I support what's going on.
Turning to the CEO to see whether he wished to, on the fly, provide a comment before I speak, or perhaps not, I don't know.
No, I would need some time to research this, and then, as suggested, that we would bring a report back possibly at the next council meeting, but it might have to be delayed even further just because of the treasurer being on holidays currently.
Okay, so from my standpoint, so bear with me, everyone's had an opportunity to comment on it. So as we all know, and it's been mentioned by a number of different councillors, so the city of Pembroke is a municipality. We are a creature of the Municipal Act. I do understand, as we all do, that the province has passed various regulations and amendments to the Act, indicating to do so was to assist with provincial priorities such as addressing the housing issue. There was other changes to the development charges as well as to the Building Code Act. And while I'm unclear as to how the amendments enable provincial priorities to be advanced, nonetheless, that's what the province has put forward. I'm grateful to the CAO who has circulated various materials, including legal presentations to all members of council. It was a legal presentation to another municipality. I can indicate that I was asked by, it was my FM, variety of different things about this when it first came out, and so that would be prior to April 16th. It was beginning of April. And as I expressed then, and I'll express now, that as I understand it, the province is doing so to advance provincial priorities. I had indicated at that time that this council has been in agreement and works positively together to see that those priorities come to fruition, which is what Councillor Keel was saying. Particularly, I can comment in terms of housing, that our municipal council does work positively to advance those particular items. I did also use the opportunity to say that it was also an opportunity for the province to advance some much needed additional funding to make those provincial priorities happen instead of this particular changes in terms of legislation. The regulations provided that if municipalities wished to comment, they needed to do so by April 16th, and the powers took effect, as we know, May 1st, and they're already in place. The deputy mayor made reference to one municipality being the town of Perth. I did reach out to that mayor. They passed a similar resolution. That is true. Mayor Brown then responded to me indicating that the ministry has written back to her municipality, effectively indicating that you have the changes regardless of what you think. I'm summarizing it, but that's effectively what I got. Individual municipalities, this is what the minister indicated, individual municipalities did not need to accept or decline as they were provided to all 6+ member councils, at least at that time. I compare it to something that when I think back was whenever the province wanted to govern and make amendments to the Planning Act pertaining to the legalized retail of marijuana products. And I know as a council, we thought we were getting ahead of the situation, and we changed certain zoning in our municipality to effectively highly regulate where such locations could be. To our chagrin, the province amended the Planning Act and simply said anything that you pass in respect to where these retail outlets are going to go, void. And being the province, we were left with the regulations that came forward at that time. And we now have what we have in terms of regulations limiting where they can be in relation to schools and other locations, but took away from the municipalities the ability to control what was in our municipality and where it was in our municipality. I can indicate as well that I spoke to our MPP on the topic about the legislation, the goals of the province, and very much what I've already indicated came to the town of Perth is effectively what I had received, and I'm not being disrespectful about it or anything like that. That's clearly where the province mind is at in terms of moving it forward. I know that I've had discussions with our CAO in terms of delegations. We didn't progress all the way through it. There is an education, I just received today, an education invitation to better understand what it means. That only came today, and I can't participate until the June one, which is the second one. I don't know who all it went to. I believe it's being put on by AMO. In short, while I understand council's concerns, and I have the same concerns, I can tell you that, in my opinion, the resolution, from what I know, will have zero effect upon this province, and the province wanting to change its mindset. It's clear that they started off with the larger municipalities and have moved down to include the city of Pembroke. I have listened to other mayors at county council which have commented very similarly to what is being said by this council in terms of not being democratic. One mayor saying, thank God my municipality is small enough that I don't even have to deal with the issue. And I apologize for swearing. In any event, that's what was said, though. So in short, I don't support the resolution, because I simply don't think it would have any effect at all. Having said all of that, from what I can gather is we have a resolution before us and we have a move to amend it, and so I'm in council's hands as to what council wishes to do, whether A, to vote on the second part to find out if it's part of the entire resolution, or B, whether you want to table it to allow staff to review it, because frankly, it's in place as we speak. So, Councillor Keel.
So I would point out, because I don't want this to keep coming back, under a procedural bylaw, when a bylaw is brought forward, there has to be a staff report. So if we approve my amended version tonight, there still needs to be a bylaw. So we're not putting it in place today. We would be directing staff to presumably, well, they have to get a report. That's what our procedural bylaw says. So I would be opposed to adjourning this further. Let's just vote on it tonight, and if it passes, then staff can put in their work and bring a report back with the bylaw. If we table it tonight, then we're just going to be having a successive vote in the future, and then a bylaw would have to come back again in the future. So I say let's deal with it tonight, because if this council is not interested in my amendment, then there's also no need for a report. So either way, this will not be effective tonight. It will have to come back for a substantive vote.
Councillor Giacono.
This is bigger than all the 444 municipalities in the province. This is bigger. The province has to have a softer, better way of negotiating with the municipalities. I mean, if this isn't the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. We're not in Siberia where somebody says you shall and you will. This is a democracy. We have to push back. The 444 other municipalities, if they're going to sit on their hands and say, well, we can't do anything, then nothing will happen. But there's got to be a movement, whether it starts here, or Laurentian Valley, or Petawawa, and if we have to go down there by the busload, maybe that's what the provincial government needs to see. They're just wholeheartedly saying, this is it, take it or leave it. This is the way it is. No, this is not the way it is. This is democracy. We should have input into that legislation. It just shouldn't be shoved down your throat without any other way of looking at it. That's what is being done. Take it or leave it. Here it is. You have nothing to say about it. Well, excuse me. We pay to the province X number of dollars through our taxes to make sure the province runs properly. That's a crock. I mean, if they're saying, well, that's too bad, another mayor in another municipality said, well, that's too bad. No, it's not too bad. It's too bad for them that they have that attitude. And we have to change that, Your Worship, whether we vote on your secondary motion tonight. And as far as, delegating the mayor to earning a buck, the man has a full-time job. He's everywhere. Who the hell, excuse me, I apologize. Who the heck would want the job? If you want somebody to be the mayor who's a multimillionaire, perhaps it can do it, and who has time. But if you're a multimillionaire, you're not stupid enough to sit in that chair and say, I'm going to help my municipality. I'm going to be out there making money for me. So, Your Worship, I admire you for your tenacity. And I know you don't always, take on that, how would I say, that ferocity, because I don't think that's in your character. But I know you have the heart of a lion. And we have to push back to the province. It cannot be allowed to happen. And I mean, if we have to start, booking interviews with CTV, whoever the heck it is, then let's do so. We can't be the only municipality feeling this way. I mean, people are saying, well, what can we do about it? Well, let's do something about it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Frenier?
So I know that we often advocate with AMO at different events. What about OSUM, Ontario's Small Urban Municipalities? Have they made a statement about this? Because it's small, urban, like we are. So I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Jackno. And there's been other issues in my time on council. Well, I've said we should load up a bus. And they're, oh, that's civil disobedience. Well, maybe that's what it takes. And I totally agree. We shouldn't take stuff like this. Toronto. And I mean, I grew up in Toronto. But a lot of the decisions that they make at Queen's Park, I think they think nothing exists north Queen's Park. And when they're spending millions of our tax dollars too, it's always on 401, it's always on Don Valley or Toronto-based. Well, these decisions, as Councillor Keel said, are made based for larger cities. So I think we should think about what we can do. Talk to OSUM, talk to AMO. But that's the association of all Ontario, so they represent the big guys too. But I would investigate with these smaller groups and see if we can't get people to come out in force from all these affected municipalities and do something. Because I'm tired of it too, basically. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah. So I'd like to keep this separate from this motion. I'd like to keep this separate. Silence is golden, but in society, especially with authoritarianism rising in the world, especially in the United States, to a certain degree, we got to speak out. Some people said to me, "Oh, don't do that. Don't rock the boat with the province. You won't get any grants." Well, the province isn't like that. They're not going to come and say, "You're not getting a grant because you voted against the strong mayors." We're expressing our voice on behalf of the citizens of Pembroke, and we're saying, no, this is not right. Some of us are going to AMO in August in Ottawa. There'll be a forum for that, and once we have the resolution passed, we can forward it to AMO and our MPP and talk to him, and it'll be sent to the Minister Flack, and it's a start. And OSUM also, speak to them, and let our voice heard at AMO, at the conference in Ottawa. And, you know, it's amazing when you read the legislation, like what are we here for? A mayor of Pembroke, not this mayor, but any mayor, could pass a ruling and 2 more councillors could support it to get accepted. You know, who doesn't want housing? The mayor's on the wall. Some of them are here. Former Mayor Giacono. Some of them are passed away. They would roll over in their grave, I think, if they saw this legislation. That's undemocratic. So, anyhow, I'd like to keep this separate, Councillor Keel.
I would recommend we have to vote on the amendment. I would recommend to keep them together if that's what council wishes.
together?
Otherwise, Councillor Keel will have to bring like a notice of motion
okay.
because it hasn't been placed on the agenda. So for administrative purposes, I would
Okay.
recommend council votes on the amendment if they wish it to be part of the overall motion.
Recorded vote.
Does any, Councillor Purcell?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that I wish to include the amendment because I do think it demonstrates, you know, that we're serious. We're looking at workarounds, you know. We can also do like you said, Councillor Fernier, in terms of, you know, the summer going to AMO conference and seeing, you know, what AMO has. I'm sure this is going to be a hot topic this summer. But I think, you know, this demonstrates that, hey, we don't agree with this legislation, and B, you know, this is what we're doing, you know, to ensure that our municipality, because we can only control what we control, our municipality is working the way it did in the past through the delegations to the CAO and to council for those various different responsibilities. So I just wanted to say kudos to Councillor Keel for that very well-written amendment.
Everyone has spoken to it, and so we're voting on the amendment by recorded vote.
Okay, so just to clarify, this is the amendment that was proposed by Councillor Keel. If council would like me to reread it, I can, but if it's okay, then...
I would like to hear it.
Okay, okay. So the amendment is going to be added to the bottom of the motion that was proposed by the deputy mayor. So it includes, be it further resolved, the treasurer or such other staff as may be directed by either the treasurer or the chief administration officer are directed to bring forward to council at the next regular scheduled meeting of council a bylaw amending the honorarium of the mayor to include a provision whereby the honorarium of the mayor shall be automatically reduced to $1 per calendar year, prorated as necessary for any partial year applicable during any period of time which the mayor has not, in writing, delegated his authority pursuant to all 4 subclauses of subsection 284.13 in brackets 1 of the Municipal Act 2001 concerning A, the powers of a municipality under section 229 with respect to the chief administration officer, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. B, the powers of the municipality with respect to determining the organizational structure of the municipality, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the chief administration of the city of Pembroke. C, the power of the municipality to appoint chairs and vice chairs of local boards, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. And D, the powers of the municipality with respect to the prescribed committees or committees within a prescribed class of committees, including 1, the power to establish or dissolve committees, 2, the power to appoint chairs and vice chairs of committees, and 3, the power to assign functions of committees, such powers to be delegated by the mayor to the council of the city of Pembroke. So a recorded vote was requested. Deputy Mayor Brian Abdallah,
Yay.
Councillor Ed Giacono,
No.
Councillor Ian Keel,
Yay.
Councillor Pat Lafreniere,
Yay.
Councillor Andrew Plummer,
Yay.
Councillor Troy Purcell,
Yay.
Mayor Ron Gervais. The yeas have it on account of 6-1. Now we'll do the recorded vote for the main motion. Does council want me to reread it? It's not necessary. Okay. So this is to request to exempt the city of Pembroke. Deputy Mayor Brian Abdallah,
Yay.
Councillor Ed Jacquino,
Yay.
Councillor Ian Keel,
Yay.
Councillor Pat Lafreniere,
Yay.
Councillor Andrew Plummer,
Yay.
Councillor Troy Purcell,
Yay.
Mayor Ron Gervais.
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you, Mr. Unruh. No correspondence this evening. Mayor's report. Good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my mayor's report this time. On May 9th, the CAO and I attended a community living diversity tea. This was a great opportunity to meet men and women in our community to express to them that Pembroke is a welcoming community to all. I was warmly welcomed and invited by their board to work with the city and have a closer relationship with them and their members. On May 17th, I attended together with the deputy mayor as we attended a grand opening of another fine season of the farmers market. I'm always warmly welcomed, as is the public. I encourage everyone to take this as an opportunity to attend the farmers market and meet the many businesses that are there. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, councillor updates. Deputy Mayor.
Your worship. I just want to, some other councillors will have some comments also on this, but pertaining to the community watch group and the community garden, we had a booth at the expo, May 9th and 10th, along with the handy bus and the police services board. I want to thank all the volunteers that came out for those, our two groups. And I want to thank the staff and everyone involved at the expo. It was fabulous, and it's growing every year. They had great traffic, and kudos to everybody. Parks and Recreation Department, everyone involved. You're probably sick of me by now. I've been called Rain Barrel Man or whatever. But the rain barrels, we get $10 for the garden. The deadline is this Saturday, rainbarrel.ca. Most of the money goes towards the St. Joseph's Food Bank Land Garden to buy supplies and that. This Saturday at noon, the mayor and I are hosting the opening of the community garden. The water's turned on. It's a cleanup day and a meeting for volunteers. It's at noon. If you know anybody who wants to come, it's on the corner of Deacon and River Road, right across the old Cannoneer. Everybody know, most people know where it is. We have 2 beds open, 8x4. If anybody would like a bed, first come, first serve, they contact Mayor Gervais or myself. Yes, the farmers market opening was great. More vendors this year, entertainment. They have lots of great things planned. They have new executive, lots of enthusiasm, and the night markets are starting in July and August, Wednesday and Friday nights, right? And they've been approved for a liquor license. Norkeys will be serving food and a draft beer down there also. So, you know, it's a destination place, and it's really come a long way, and we want to congratulate everyone involved at the farmers market. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Other councillor updates? Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Your Worship. On May 8th was Victory in Europe Day, and I had the opportunity to attend with Councillor Purcell at our cenotaph with President Stan Halliday and a number of other members of the local Legion. This was the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe, and it was a nice somber event, and I would encourage anyone. They do several of these sort of smaller events throughout the year. I knew the D-Day, they usually conduct an event as well, so that will be coming up soon. I just want to thank the Legion for all of their hard work and dedication. In that regard, Your Worship, I also want to mention the passing of Merle Chaput on May 10th. I grew up 2 houses down from Mr. Chaput. Councillor Jacquino living around the corner. He was certainly, he was very well known in our west end of Pembroke. He was a World War II veteran. Your Worship, that's something we don't have many left at this point in time. You know, I knew Merle as the guy with a blackened paved driveway that would yell at me when I drove my bike in his driveway as a kid. And you know, when I went and saw him during the last election, you know, his mind was definitely there, because roughly his exact words were, you know, by Jesus, I remember yelling at you as a kid, and now you're running for city council. And you know, he was just such a, he was just, again, so well known. You know, every day walked up to No Frills, sometimes a couple times a day to get just the groceries he needed for that meal, and then he'd walk up again in the afternoon. So I know everyone around this table, of course, will send their condolences to the family. It just, it reminds you that when you do see a veteran, all of them, but especially the older ones, you know, remember to thank them for their service, because they won't be around forever. And like I said, when it comes to World War II veterans, those numbers certainly are dwindling at this point. And those that we have, we certainly we appreciate their service. With respect to the Community Expo, I had the opportunity to be there on the Friday and the Saturday. What a tremendously great event. I want to thank Heather Sutherland, head of our Economic Development Office, Elijah McEwen, our Tourism and Digital Media person, Bethia Summers from the BIA, I know, is on that board as well. A lot of, I mean, what you see is a day and a half of what appears to be a lot of work, but the weeks and months leading up to that is hundreds of hours of work. I believe this was one of our biggest that we've ever had, which is certainly saying something, because last year was well attended, and this year I believe they broke the numbers from last year as well, and certainly had, I believe we did have the most tables that we had ever had. So thank you to our ECDev and Tourism Department and all the players involved with the Community Expo. In terms of Festival Hall, I do have an update with respect to what's coming up, Your Worship, but I have the first revenue sharing report. As Council knows, this is the first time that our Festival Hall director has agreed to share in the revenue with us. So what we get is $1.25 per ticket sold for a non-ticketed event. So for people that rent the whole hall but don't sell tickets, we get $150. For media services, Kitchissippi Productions has partnered up with a photographer and partnered up with other media services. In fact, I think our own Sean is in on some of those discussions. So we get $50 from every contract of theirs, and the lobby-only rentals, we get $100. We are also getting 15% of the net profits from the canteen. So I don't know if somebody wants to give a drum roll, but for the first quarter, the city and the consortium, sorry, it goes into the city's, we hold the account, but the consortium received $4,424.16. We expect this to be a smaller amount compared to the next quarter, which is expected to be larger, and that includes, but if people are wondering how many people went through, I don't know for the non-ticketed events, but that's 2,145 tickets sold in just January, February, March. So obviously that Festival Hall is going really well. This ticket sharing, I should also advise this council that at my request, Dorian Pierce and Chris Neff from Laurentian Valley are going to be working on an asset management plan so that we know what we have, and moving forward, as we're now receiving revenues, we can plan a little better. And I know at the moment, lighting is one of the high priorities we have, but there are some other things that we're looking at as well. I will tell you in the fall, I will probably have a very sad third quarter report for you, because that's going to be July, August, September. So we anticipate that will likely always be the smallest. The spring, depending on Christmas, those two will compete for the larger ones. But needless to say, we are talking about thousands of dollars coming back to the consortium for the first time. So I'm certainly grateful for that. In terms of what is coming up to Festival Hall, we do have a number of dance recitals, one of which, by the way, is our first sellout. So Stars in Motion is there on Friday the 23rd, Saturday the 24th matinee, Saturday the 24th evening, and Sunday the 25th May. The Saturday matinee is actually the first one that is sold out. And Adios Dance Studio is there Saturday the 31st of May. And then Epic Elton, an Elton John tribute, is there on June the 7th, and that will round out. There are some other events. I know there's a spelling bee coming up. Those are non-ticketed events. That's why you don't see them on the website. But certainly lots, despite the change in director and what you might have thought might have been a time to get going, we certainly didn't see that. We're full speed ahead, and the fall already has so many events coming up, and certainly it's always nice to see our other members of council and staff from time to time there. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell, and I have Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple different things. First of all, I'd just want to build upon the mayor's recognition for the Accessibility Week. So the Accessibility Advisory Committee plays a vital role in ensuring that the city does remain inclusive and accessible for all residents, regardless of their abilities. And I just wanted to call them out for their dedication and efforts in terms of advising on policy, identifying barriers, and promoting accessible solutions. They contribute significantly to creating a more equitable community. As we observe the Accessibility Week, it's very important that we acknowledge and thank the committee members for their commitment, their expertise, and their passion in championing accessibility initiatives. Their work not only enhances the quality of life of individuals with disabilities, but also fosters a city that values diversity, independence, and participation by everyone. So kudos goes out to the Accessibility Advisory Committee and our clerk, Victoria, that does all the hard work behind the scenes in terms of keeping us all organized. So thank you very much, Victoria. I won't touch too much in terms of the Friday evening. I attended the expo when Expo was on. It was a great success. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun. Talked to a lot of the vendors, and the vendors were having just a blast. And they were comparing Pembroke's Expo with Petawawa's, and in many cases, the experience in Pembroke was better than other municipalities. So that's great. So that's some of the feedback that I did receive. In terms of Maurel Chapu's passing, I do want to give my condolences to their family. Maurel took me golfing when I was probably this high with my uncles, Clayton and Orville Groway, my dad, Jim Purcell. And he was nothing but a gentleman. And when you meet him, he always had a story to tell you, whether it was in the Legion, it was in his home during campaigning, or it was at the grocery store. Merrill was always quick to have a good chat. So we're going to miss him. The Victory Day celebrations. It was quite a somber moment for myself, reflecting on my grandfather's passing, as he died during the Battle of Atlantic in 1942 on the HMCS Ottawa. And I know that many service people gave their lives, and it's hard to believe that it's 80 years since the end of the World War. Seeing the contributions such as Merrill, and individuals that I knew in the past that, that fought for our country. It certainly is a recognition in terms of the hard work, and the Legion for doing such a great job in terms of, keeping their memory alive, lest we forget. The other thing was in terms of the Aging in Place Forum. I attended, it was on May the 15th, and it was put on by the Ottawa Valley Ontario Health Team. And it was a great opportunity to bring together various different healthcare professionals, service providers, policymakers, decision makers, and community members to work together to create a shared 10-year vision in terms of aging in place across the Ottawa Valley Ontario Health Team. They had a keynote speaker, fabulous speaker, facilitator, Zaina Kayet. She's a health futurist. So some of the information that she was sharing is that 1 in 10 work within the health field right now. And what does that look like in the future? And how can we, instead of building more homes in terms for the aged, how can we allow people to age appropriately in their home with appropriate supports? So it was everything from AI discussions to, looking at the various different responsibilities from some of the service providers. So looking forward to see what comes out of there in terms of the 10-year strategy and 10-year vision. And last but not least, had a lot of fun on Saturday night. I was at Finnegan's Legend, and they had the Battle of the Bands, and I was identified as one of the judges. There was 4 bands that played. Mitch Match, Randa, Gatlin Black, and Sawmill Road. And there's another Battle of Bands that's happening on May the 30th. So 2 finalists will actually battle for the top best bands in the Ottawa Valley, and that'll be at the Ottawa Valley Stomp and Lumberjack Festival. And there's more information that's available there, but please all come out to Legends Finnegan's on May the 30th for round 2 of the Battle of Bands. It's a great night. So, thank you.
Councillor Purcell. Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Your Worship. An addendum to Councillor Kale's comment about Merle Chaput. I was pleased and very privileged to be his neighbor for 70-some years, I guess. Merle never owned a car. He walked everywhere. And he often said that his longevity was due to the fact that he walked. He walked to the grocery store. Wherever he had to go, he walked to the Legion. He'd take the cab on occasion. He was a wonderful golfer, a great curler. And I had the privilege to be at the service for him, where Joe McDonald, the piper, it just ripped at your heartstrings to know that Merle had passed. It was hard to believe. Wonderful ceremony by the Legion, Stan Halliday and the Padre. And I just wanted to reiterate what we were talking about earlier today about the defense of democracy. Merle Chaput was up the beach in Normandy. If you've seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, that was a 17-year-old Merle Chaput running up the beach under fire to protect what is so important to all of us here today. And it should be. So we should not leave that go, aside. Merle would be very proud to know that we're still here defending what he did on those beaches here in this council chamber. And the province should be aware of that too. So Merle and his family, again, deep condolences. He was a wonderful man.
Thank you. Councillor Fernier?
A lighter note. Civic Awards are coming up, the Civic Youth Awards, and they will be June 2nd, and all of council is invited. You'll be getting an invitation soon. It will be held at the Clarion Hotel this year at 7 p.m., so I hope you can all make it. I want to just say kudos to the Parks and Recreation staff. They got everything open now for the season, and staff are being hired, so we're excited about that. The pool's running, which is another good bit of news. I want to commend everyone who worked as a volunteer at Expo. I know Deputy Mayor was all over, and thank you for taking pictures, because I didn't have my phone with me, so I saw you took lots of pictures for social media. I just want to touch as well briefly on Mr. Chaput. I've known him probably for 40-some years, and I curled with him. He gave me a few good hints on how to golf. I'm not a good golfer, but he said, as long as you can hit it straight 100 yards and just keep doing that, you're gonna make a par every time. So last election, my husband and I went to his door, and he actually thought we were my husband's father and wife. So he actually fought with my father-in-law. He was also in the Second World War, and they were good buddies. But you know, we will miss him. I had a piece of corn on the cob that day with him as I was campaigning, and he's in good company now. Okay, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, no closed session this evening. Confirming bylaw, Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Jack on the bylaw 2025-48 to confirm the proceedings of regular council meeting of May 20, 2025 be adopted and passed. And further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer and second by Councillor Jack on the bylaw 2025-48 to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council, May 20th, 2025 be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation. Those in favor? That is carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you.